right, it's 12:30 now. Hi, assalamualaikum, and a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Safika, and I'll be presenting on our schuler, deshi to sensei. Basically, what does that mean? I'll get back to you soon. Okay, it's 12:30 now, so I'm going to start my session really soon. All right, here we go. Okay, so basically, this is my topic. Our schuler, deshi to sensei. I hope you guys are seeing what I'm seeing right now. Arshali Deshi to Sensei, what does it mean? What does the topic mean? The topic means this. Schuler means students. Deshi, disciple, apprentice, or students. Sensei is teacher or master. So Schuler is actually a German word. Deshi and sensei are Japanese. So the topic that I'm talking about today is basically our students apprentice to master. What do we want them to be master in? Some people say the use of ICT is irrelevant, but I think once the students know how to work the ICT to support their learning sessions, they will eventually learn better and be better in the subject itself. But then again, that doesn't really happen all the time. What's more important is that they tried, and what is even more important is that you, as a teacher, have tried. You've tried everything, and if things don't work out the way you want to, then at least we have found out the things that don't work for our students, and that's okay because life isn't fair. Life isn't always sunshines and rainbows and all these successful stories. Sometimes we have to fail, but then again, as teachers, we always learn from our failures. So let me start with telling a bit of my experience making students masters, I suppose. When I first started teaching using technology, I almost killed myself because of the frustrations and everything. I had to do most of it alone, all the setting up, trainings and stuffs. And then I thought, why not teach a few students and then let these kids teach their own friends? So I started out with 2. And then I had 4, and then 10. And I finally have a class full of students who know how to work the technology used in the classroom. Now, as you can see, the first picture on your left would be the 2 students standing up. Those are my first 2 students. And then I had 4 of them, actually. The other 2 are just there for fun. This was during a hangout session that we tried out before the class itself. And also the 2 pictures on the bottom, those are the 2 students I've trained. One of them I trained, Jackson on the left, and that is his younger brother. The second one is Jackson's friend, Jackson was the one who trained this friend. His name is Jordan. And the one below him sitting down, as you can see, that is actually his younger brother as well. So basically, brothers teaching their younger brothers. These are my students when we went for 21st century classroom practices in SMK Kota Masai 2. This is when I had to give a talk, and the ones who are helping the teachers are not teachers, but actually my students. So these are the group of, I call them champions. These are the group of champions who can train teachers as well. And from those 2 to 4 to 5, and now I have all of this classroom full of students who know how to work using the ICT. As you can see in the first picture on the left, those are my students, and they are teaching their juniors, a whole class, Form 3, teaching a Form 1 class. And the one below it are my first class teaching the second last class, English. Also how to use the technology. On your right, basically pictures of my students working with technology in groups. And most of the time, they learn from their peers and not me. So why do we involve students? Why not just teach the whole class at once? I tried, and from personal experience, it was really tiring, and it can be quite frustrating because then you will get this group of students saying, then teacher, what's next? And then, but afterwards, you have this other group of students asking you questions like, teacher, wait, I can't follow, I can't wait, you're too fast. it's very, very frustrating when it comes to all of these things, actually. So I think that's why I involved students. Also, I did a mini survey in my school. This is from Form 3 to Form 5 students. About more than 100 students participated in this survey. So 92.7% students say that they learn better with technology, while 87.8% stated that they actually learn better from peers. Therefore, we, as teachers, I think it's time that we use technology to spark interest for the lesson. Not only we use technology to spark interest for the lesson, but we also use technology to help them explore more on what? More questions, more possibilities, not only for subject matter that we teach in the classroom, not only the English language, not only the mathematics, not only the science, but basically about life as well. They have to be curious and they should be able to explore more with the use of technology in the classroom. Also, use technology to create people of the future. Now, some educators believe that technology is just a tool and not the end product. I, however, believe in both. Who are we to say that some of our students now are not going to be some tech creator or operator or whatever it is the job that might be available in the future? So I do believe that technology is a tool, yes, but at the same time, don't the students need to know how to use the technology itself? Doesn't it mean that technology is also an end product? So I'll be sharing with you some fun apps that you guys can use to create more interactive sessions, and also students can use these apps or extensions or whatever to learn better. Not all of this will work. Sometimes it takes time to work. I think that's what we have to remember when we use technology. My friend Amir said something about this in his session earlier on. We gotta have plan A, B, C, D, E, and more plans, just in case plan A doesn't work. So technology does that sometimes. It's bad, but then again, we can't escape from using technology. So yeah, these are the fun apps to train the disciples to be masters in. These are some of the apps my students have tried, and they know how to work these apps, and most of the time my students are Form 3 and Form 4, so they're basically not really that old and not really that young, but they know how to use these apps. The first one, for a writing class, these are some very fun apps, some very fun and free apps that you guys can use in class. Now, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Story Builder, and Google Spotlight Stories. Now, Google Spotlight Stories is fun, especially for the younger kids, because you got to move around, and you can also use these Google Spotlight Stories using only your handphone. If you don't want to use your handphone, then you can ask your students to bring their phones, and of course you keep them in class. And use it only for class, of course. Now, Google Docs and Google Slides, I think some of our friends or some of our presenters for EOA have already touched on this. But Google, for those who do not know about Google Docs and Google Slides, all I can say is that go to your Google Drive, explore. It's very fun, and it's very, very interactive. It's very easy to use as well. My students now, they prefer to use Google Docs rather than using other apps like, I don't know, like whatever apps that we have, but they prefer using Google Docs because you can share, they can edit it at the same time, they can discuss using the chat button there, and basically they can do a lot of things with it. For Google Story Builder, it's very fun for relief classes. So if you do have relief class and there's no one at the computer lab, do bring them over and try Google Story Builder. It's very, very fun. And next is for website building or blog. We have VLE sites, of course. That's one of the most, I have to say, the easiest one, but at the same time, it's not really friendly that we have to log in every single time. I mean, there's a lot of procedures to do that, and if we have more than 20 people wanting to use it at the same time, it will slow down and all. We have Google Sites, to which that one person creates one site, and we can have a class site, Blogger, and Weebly. Weebly is very, very pretty. It's free as well. Of course, there are, if you want it to be more advanced, you can pay for more applications to it, I suppose. But Weebly is very fun, very easy to use, and it's fun to use. For VLE, most of the teachers, most of you would know how to use this already, so I'm not going to talk much about it. For Google Sites, there are some limitations, but as for if you are paid, if you have a school domain with Google for Education, then there would be no limit to the kind of things that you can put in Google Sites. For presentation, Google Slides, Powtoon, Pixlr, and Sway.com. Now, I learned Sway.com quite later, but it's really fun. It's really fun. If you do have, or if you have already created a presentation using Microsoft Office PowerPoint, you can actually upload it on Sway.com, which is also a Microsoft app, and you can turn it into this very fun looking, kind of like, it can be either way. It can be a presentation, or it can look like a blog. It can look like a website as well. So it's really fun. Go home and try it afterwards. Now, Powtoon is super easy. Not only you can use it for presentation, you can also use it to create videos. Now, my student, I introduced Powtoon before. I did not say anything. I did not show them anything. I just wrote the name, and then they Googled it. And one group managed to make a very short presentation, a very short video using Powtoon, and it's very fun. Next is basically data gathering. For data gathering, this one we have Google Forms, Padlet, SurveyMonkey, and more. So for these things, for Padlet, it's very easy. For Google Forms, it's super easy as well. You can have a lot of questions, and you can also make a survey. You can make whatever. For teachers who are going to do data in the first year, the first month of the year, in which that we have students registration and all, instead of using papers and papers and papers again, and then transfer them into the document or Microsoft Office spreadsheet or Excel or whatever, why don't you use Google Forms? And then you will have, you already have all the data online, and you can manipulate the data easily afterwards. Next is quizzes or surveys using Kahoot. This is the new aid for the teachers for the past 3 months. A lot of teachers and a lot of GEGs have shared on the use of Kahoot. It's very fun. It's very funny as well. And it's super interactive. It makes students go crazy. So if you do have time, go to Kahoot.com, getkahoot.com, and it's free. It's free for the teachers. You can actually use this however you want. It's really fun to do it. And students just kind of like kill each other to gain more marks, or to be the winner. And this is perfect for quizzes or for Q&A sessions itself. Is very fun to do it. So things to do. What are the things to do? From experience, students are more inclined to learn from other students, and once they see the fun of learning, they won't really stop. So what are the things left for you guys to do? Number one, it's very simple. You just pick 2 students. If you can't pick 2, pick 1. And students don't necessarily have to be interested at first, but once you have shown them the fun side of these things that you do, or these apps that you use for classroom, eventually they will learn they will see that, you know what, this is actually fun, and let's try this. Because 2 of the students that I picked, the first 2, the girl and the boy, they are Eva and Jackson, they were not really interested per se. But then again, after showing them a few things, they were like, oh, okay, this is fun. And when do you use it? When do you do it? So you can train them after school, before the class begins, whenever. And you can teach only the basics. You only need to teach them the basics of the app or the subject matter or whatever, and let them explore. I think that's the key word here. We are letting the students explore. Let them make mistakes. It will not crash the computer, because these apps are most of them are online. All of them are online. There's nothing to crash except for the Windows. Sorry, not Windows. The what do you call that? The word escapes me. Basically, the Chrome or Explorer. Yeah, those things will crash, but not your computer, not your Chromebook, not your laptop, not your phone. So nothing will crash. So don't worry about it. So teach to students, let them teach the rest. And then, I guess, like, let them be students, let them explore, let them learn from each other. There are times when it's gonna frustrate you in a sense that they will always kind of go or do something that you don't want them to do. I think that's the importance of instruction. So instruct them well, give clear instructions, but at the same time, leave enough room for them to explore. To find that balance is really, really difficult, but it's not impossible. You know your students best. I know my students. I don't know your students. So I can only share with you what I've done, but ultimately, however you do it is basically yours alone. Bye. So this is me. Remember the code is OWUHUF. All right, so it's OWUHUF. Any questions? I suppose we're almost done. Now is Q&A session. Just to remind you guys that technology is a tool. And sometimes it becomes the end product for the students. But it takes time, it takes will, and it takes a whole lot of failing times. Like you're gonna fail a lot of times for some people. For some, you're not gonna fail at all. You just try it and voila, everything's gonna be wonderful. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is basically make things more fun for the students and make it more interesting, interactive, and basically we let them see that this is not, they don't have to learn in the boring way. And technology, after a while, I suppose that it's their turn and they need to use the technology actually. Okay. One of the famous questions that I got, oh, I got a question. Where do you learn your English? Okay. Question is, where do you learn your English? My English is that bad. I learned in UITM Shalam. Oh, okay. Thank you. I learned in UITM Shalam. I'm a local product. I've never learned abroad, if that's your question. I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much, Flying Dust. Any other questions? One of the famous questions that I was asked when I go for training sessions is that how did I manage to create a class full of students who know how to use technology? Now, when I say they know how to use technology, most of them, they know how to use Chromebooks because our school runs on Chromebooks. But at the same time, some of them, around 10 or 15 of them, they are trained to set things up. I think for technology use, it's not only important that they know how to use the applications, but also they need to learn how to set things up, how to troubleshoot some very common problems in using technology. That's where they will help to lessen our burden as teachers. Because most of the time we are trying to teach, but at the same time we are trying to make things work. We are trying to make the projectors work. We are trying to make sure the audio is okay. A lot of these things are distracting us from the teaching itself. So I suppose when you have trained some students, they will help you with the setting up and you just focus on your teaching. I think that is why that's why I really want to share this with you guys, because most of the time teachers come to me saying that I'm afraid to use technology because what if this happens? What if that happens? I think it's important that students need to know. To tell you the truth, I don't have any background in ICT. It's pure kind of like curiosity and passion, I suppose. I like technology and I see technology as a tool that helps me in class. Because let's face it, if they don't know something, they can just go on Google or Bing or whatever, and they try to find the meaning of the word. Especially my students, most of them, they don't speak English well, but when they do it quite good as well. Um, oh, sorry, my face is so big there. Do you have, okay, another question is, do you have any suggestions for teachers on how to deal with students who don't have computer or internet access at home? I do. To tell you the truth, I have a class of 35. Only 7 has internet connection at home. However, because I have a computer lab at school, I have 2 computer labs, so I allow them to use the computer labs after school hours. Or if they are the afternoon session, ask them to come a little bit earlier. And most of them, they are ready to work independently. If I have a class, I'll be teaching in my class, and they will be in the computer lab doing their own thing. They will be just, if they have tasks, for example, using Google Docs, then they will just go online and try to ask their friends. When they really can't work it out, then only they come and see me. So I think that for students who don't have computer or internet access at home, give them the space. Meaning for school, I think most of the, hopefully, most of the admins should be and will be very kind enough, I suppose, to actually allow our students to come and use the computer lab, because the computer lab is not for showcase, it's for students to use. Just that it's important that someone is in the room, I suppose, I think. So allow them to use computer at school. And also, because if they use the internet at school, they can't really go on Facebook. So, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. That has answered your question. Another question that I got, not from here, but from other people whenever I go to conferences or whatever, is what if the internet is so slow? How does that affect the classroom? I think most importantly, you know your students best. And like my friend said before, if you have watched his session, plan A, B, C, D, plan A until Z's. That's what teachers do, plans all the time. Make them work in groups. If your original plan is to actually allow them to use 1 computer per person or 1 Chromebook per person, 1 netbook per person, turn it into pairs. If you can't use it in pairs, turn it into a group work. So 4 people share 1 PC or Chromebook or netbook. I think that will help with the slow internet connection problem. And also, I think I'm okay with my students bringing phones to school, in a sense that when I ask them to, I also ask for permission, of course, from the administrators to allow my students to bring the handphones to school. So when they do, they give their phones early in the morning to me, and I will keep it with me at all times. So when it's my class, I'll be giving them their phone. So if they need to use the internet access for searching their search for information or whatever, they are able to do so. And since they use their own internet connection, so there should be no problem. That's plan C or B, depending. Any other questions? Well, this is fun. To tell you the truth, I was really nervous. This is fun. If there are no more questions, I'll be ending my session at 12:58 really, really soon. Thank you very much, everyone, for viewing. And thank you very much for the questions, Flying Dust. I hope I get to know who you are soon. All right. Thank you and bye.